Hey everyone, last week I sent out an email letting everyone know that our district now has licensing for MagicSchool, and that licensing covers all staff and students. So I thought this week I would start a series of short videos each week with a spotlight on specific tools within MagicSchool to maybe give you a better idea of how it might be of use to you. Since this is the first time I'm doing that, we're going to start right from the beginning, and that of course would be the login button. But first, again, I just went to magicschool.ai and then I click on login, and it will ask me, because I cleared my cookies and everything, it's going to ask if I'm a student or an educator. And then I get to the login screen, and again we have domain licensing that's synced up with our Google, so we just go ahead and click on sign in with Google, and then it'll take me right to this page. Okay, and again, this is going to be a spotlight on a single tool, but just a quick look at what you got here. Again, at the top you can toggle back and forth between MagicSchool, which is the teacher tools, or Magic Student, which is where you can set up tools to use with your students. So I'm going to go back to MagicSchool, and today, just to get us started with kind of an easy one, we're going to go with the multiple choice quiz assessment generator. So I go ahead and click on that, and you can see here it's pretty simple to get started with. We've got just a few fields to fill in. As a first example, I was a high school social studies teacher, so I'm going to say that I'm looking for 11th grade, and I want 10 multiple choice questions. And then here it's asking you topic standard. Again, so you could say, pick a copy and paste a New York State standard in here if you wanted to, or description of the assessment, be specific. So I'm going to say that I want the topic that I want to address is separation of powers and checks and balances in the U.S. Constitution. Okay, I could add more. I could be very, very specific, or even a little more general if I wanted to. But when I click generate, give it just a second here, and you can see it starts writing my questions. Okay, and then when we're done, when it's finished, I can look over these multiple choice questions. Let me scroll all the way to the bottom. It gives me an answer key, and it does say here, always review AI generated answers for accuracy, which is a good rule no matter whether you're talking about AI generated or you're talking about something you get from a textbook. It's always a good idea to make sure the key is correct. If there were questions in here, like if I like most of this, but there are a few things that maybe it's using a vocabulary term that isn't what we use in New York State, and I could have been more specific in the prompt probably, to say that, we're addressing New York State standards, something like that. But if there was something in here that I liked most of this, but there was a couple things that I would want to tweak, I can just come down here at the bottom and I can click on edit, and it converts it. You got this box that pops up, and now I can actually type in here. I can erase things, I could change answers, I could do whatever I wanted to do if I needed to. Okay. Now from here, and let me just back up. I don't want people thinking that this is just a tool for our high school teachers. So let's say I'm going to go to first grade. We're going to do 5 questions, and let's do comprehension questions on the hungry. I'm going to spell this wrong, but that's okay because Google's going to help me out. There we go. I think that's Eric, if I remember from reading to my daughter correctly. Eric Carl. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and hit generate. And here we go. We've got five reading comprehension questions. For the Very Hungry Cat, and you'll notice that it even corrected the title for me, which is nice. Okay, and again, same thing. I could come in here, I could edit this. All right, we could do read aloud. All right, if I want to. But what I wanted you to see is one of the things that you can do here, now that you have this here, you can copy this. So if you wanted to, you could copy it and then paste it into like a document or something like that. And you'll see that the tooltip is telling me like, hey, if you're going to do something like that, it's better to actually use this. If I click on export, it gives me all these options for where you could export this thing to. Okay, so you could export it to a Google Doc. All right, so it'd just be put into a Google Doc. From there, you could copy, paste, edit, do whatever you wanted to, turn it into a handout. You know, in fact, let me go ahead and click that, and you'll see it does it pretty quickly. Click on open, and here's the document, and you'll notice like it didn't do a great job with the formatting by moving it over here, but that's, again, it's kind of okay because this is now a document that I could go ahead and edit. But I also really like this option, which is export to Google Forms. So if I go ahead and click export again, and again, maybe first grade, this isn't appropriate, but certainly once you get up into the higher elementary grades and up through secondary, Google Forms is a great option. Us being one-to-one, you know, helps with that. But now, again, I've got it in Google Forms, and it's set up already. You'll see, if I go to settings, it's already set up to be a quiz. Do pay attention, though, to the settings here. Like, it's set to immediately release grades after each submission. So what that means is if I leave it at that, the kids are going to get an email immediately telling them what they got on it. And I believe it also will tell them what they got right or wrong. So if you're staggering this, kids are taking this at different times, you definitely would want to change that to later after manual review, so you would be able to release the grades after. You can also here turn on the locked mode, which again means once a student opens a tab with this quiz, they're not going to be able to go to any other tabs until they finish the quiz, which is nice. It's not a foolproof way to keep them from cheating, but it is at least a measure. Let me come back over here, and again, this is set up as a quiz, so if I click on one of these individual questions, you'll see that the answers are put in there. If I needed to change the answer for some reason, again, just clicking on the answer key. But here also, by the way, this is where we could add answer feedback if we wanted to. So if they pick an incorrect answer, you could say, hey, remember when this happened in the story, or something like that. If you want them to kind of get a prompt like, you got it wrong, but remember this piece of information. Okay, so again, I know this wasn't supposed to be a Google Forms overview, but because these two things mesh really well, I did want to show you that step. Now, before we leave here, though, and I say goodbye, I wanted to show you also that when you look down here, so we've got our 5 comprehension questions, but if I scroll to the bottom, you'll see they have a couple more prompts down here for you. This one says, can you provide more comprehension questions for different age groups? This one says, what activities can I use to reinforce these questions? So if I click on this and give it a minute, it's going to give me a whole list of ideas of things that I could do to help reinforce the content, the comprehension pieces that are covered in this quiz. So again, we could actually then use some of this with some of those other tools, copy and paste some of these and some of the other tools, and it'll actually help you build some of this out if that's something that you want to do. So anyway, there's our first tool tip of the week. I'll be back next week. We'll take a look at another one. I hope you found that useful. Thanks.